Don't you dare!
How do you make a video game funny? Well, there are a few proven ways we can look to. Sometimes it's a sharply written script with comedic dialogue, not unlike a comedy film. Sometimes it's breaking the fourth wall and poking fun at video games as a medium. And sometimes a game is so poorly made you can't help but laugh at the various technical issues. But, in my experience, the funniest games are the ones that don't necessarily sell themselves as a comedy, but allow you to create your own scenarios in ways that can lead to ridiculous situations. The best example of this is the 2016 Hitman reboot from IO Interactive, as well as its 2018 sequel, Hitman 2. The structure of these games is relatively simple. You're placed into a large map and assigned a few targets to assassinate, and the rest is up to you. You can take out NPCs and steal their disguises, use random objects as weapons, and eavesdrop on conversations to discover where your target might be at a later time. And while Hitman plays its thinly written espionage script with a relatively straight face, it never shies away from allowing the player to exploit the mechanics in bizarre and over-the-top ways. The freedom that Hitman gives you allows each mission to play out like a unique story every time you boot up a level. This is what we call emergent narrative, a term first coined by game designer Marc LeBlanc. As he describes it, emergent narrative is when the story is designed by the players, not the developers. So while in Hitman, the designers ultimately present us with rules, a goal, as well as some scripted opportunities, the way we choose to progress through the level is entirely up to us. And it's with a combination of their framework and our gameplay that allows us to create these ridiculous situations that make Hitman so great.
The Hitman allows you to kind of behave in whatever way you want, and I think that's one of the strong things about the game, is that so if you want to go for the super silent assassin suit only approach where no one sees anything, no one knows you were there, then that's a viable approach. Or you can go the other way where you're trying things out and then it messed up and you got spotted and all of a sudden there's a guy and then he needs to go into the freezer because otherwise everything is gonna fall apart.
After the release of an enjoyable yet somewhat derivative Hitman Absolution in 2012, IO Interactive needed to look at a new way to approach the series, a way that would feel updated for the next generation of consoles. What they ultimately decided on was to make the game deliberately more open-ended with a focus on separate maps rather than a more linear structure. Open-ended gameplay, while not a new concept, had not been fully explored by most games, with a few exceptions like Dishonored and the Deus Ex series. Even the most ambitious open-world games like Grand Theft Auto V or Skyrim gave you the freedom to explore between missions, but relied on a standard go here, kill these guys, fetch this item structure when it came to the actual missions. Sure, there was a seemingly unlimited amount of things to do, but only one way to actually do them. The other thing Hitman did differently in its 2016 iteration was release each of its 6 maps episodically over the course of 9 months. This allowed players to spend time with each map and get the most out of it before the next release, instead of just rush into the next map after beating a mission for the first time. There are hundreds of combinations of ways you could possibly approach each map, so you're really not experiencing the game by only playing once. Let's take a look at one of the missions. The World of Tomorrow is the second mission in the game and remains one of the most versatile and exciting maps to explore. Your objective: destroy a DNA-specific virus being produced in a secret underground lab and assassinate its creator Silvio Caruso and his assistant Dr. Francesca DeSantis. You begin in Sapienza, a small Italian coastal village dominated by Caruso's massive estate. There's a lot to see in the village: winding streets lined with shops, the bustling town square near the ocean, and the church in its neighboring graveyard. And that's barely half the map. You'll spend most of your time in Caruso's mansion, with its multi-story buildings, beautiful grounds, and secret areas. You're not given any instruction on where to start, so the best you can do is explore. You can attempt to enter the compound from the start, but the guards will turn you away immediately. Walking past them will most likely result in you getting shot, so your best option is to explore the areas you can go in search of opportunities that might get you inside. You can come across a flower delivery guy whose car broke down, a private investigator who has scheduled a meeting with DeSantis, a cooking assistant who's about to begin his first day on the job, and at least a dozen other options like this. If you want, you could just wing it and try and sneak in as well. If you disguise yourself as the cook, you'll still have to face a pat-down, which can be a problem if you want a weapon on you. So you can sneak in, visit the chef, and work on a meal while blending in the kitchen. Eventually, you will lure Caruso out, giving you the opportunity to strike. A little investigation may clue you on to the fact that Francesca DeSantis is having an affair with Caruso's golf pro. If you get in his outfit, you can lure her to her room alone, make things romantic, and take her out when the time is right. Accessing the hidden lab is a lot harder because you need a key card. If you take out DeSantis, you can find one on her, or you can disguise yourself as a lab technician from a body found in the churchyard morgue, or you can sneak in through one of the most heavily guarded areas in the map. It's really up to you. Although once you're inside, you'll have to be extra careful since there is no shortage of enemies that can see right through your disguise, whatever it may be. And all of these opportunities I described are just a fraction of possibilities available to you. There are dozens and dozens of disguises, including a mansion guard, church staff, and even the jester in the town square. You can sneak into a tower on the edge of the map with a sniper rifle to take out your targets when they're in just the right position. You can lure a target to the dock and take them out with an antique cannon. You can shred them in a wood chipper, or you can just walk up to them and shoot them in the face. Good luck getting away, though. And this is just one of the maps. Between both Hitman seasons, there are 13 other locations like this, complete with their own stories, costumes, and opportunities for you to pursue. But the true brilliance of this design is how everything I showed you is optional. You only need to complete your 3 objectives, and the way you mix and match those opportunities is completely up to you. And this is where humor comes into play. Most of it stems from the fact that your character, Agent 47, is the most stone-faced, emotionless human being of all time. So seeing him do anything slightly off-kilter is bizarre in all the best ways. On the Miami racetrack map, you can disguise yourself as a flamingo mascot, which is especially hilarious considering his expressionless face is still peeking out. Now you can be a flamingo man, punching strangers who insult you.
Well, no offense, but your breath smells like a rat crawled up your ass and died.
And sniping race cars from the camera crew bridge. In Bangkok, you can infiltrate a rock band by disguising yourself as a replacement drummer. When asked to demonstrate your skills, Agent 47 surprises everyone, including you, the player, with a sick drum solo, and the whole time his expression never changes. You can choose from numerous starting outfits as well, including a clown or a cutlass-wielding pirate. None of this changes how the game plays out, it just looks way more ridiculous. And there are several other little details, like the way 47 hurls a fire extinguisher with deadly precision,
Principals, take him out!
or the dialogue that the clearly clueless NPCs say when commenting on your outfits.
Looking good, man. Looking good.
It also helps that the Hitman writers have a staggering amount of self-awareness. They occasionally throw in a few scripted moments that are intentionally silly, like when Agent 47 disguises himself as a new hire at a bank and goes in for a psychological evaluation.
What is the first thing you see here? Just the very first thing that comes to mind.
I see a figure in a large coat, perspective skewed, as if I'm looking at him from the ground. He's got something in his hands.
Go on.
He's armed, dual firearms, large caliber pistols.
I see. What else do you see?
He's just finished a job, perfectly executed.
And who is this man?
It's me.
Very, very interesting, Mr. Thomas.
And of course, you can't forget the supermodel Helmut Kruger, who conveniently looks exactly like you, and for some reason is so famous that he's allowed nearly everywhere in the Paris map.
And I think that the whole game is based fundamentally on whatever you want, you should be able to do it, right? That's what we try to do as much as absolutely possible. So whatever you can come up with, we will try to cover that in that sense, kind of fundamentally from the design.
Hitman is fantastic. It's simple, challenging, and endlessly replayable. It's funny for both the player and onlookers alike, and it does it all without trying too hard. If you've never played, give it a chance. There's really nothing quite like it.